I've been sitting,
That's what
I've been sitting, just for the day.
No,
It's for the day.
That's for later.
And then we do recovers for the day. I've been sitting in the same exact seat that you guys are twice in this program. The last time being 11 months ago. So I have 10 months clean as of yesterday. So the things that I've changed this time are, one, I started taking my recovery very seriously. Two, I set boundaries for myself. Like, you got to learn where you cannot be, where you can and cannot be. That will trigger like obsessive thoughts and old emotions and stuff like that. And you may have to bump your head a few times like I did along the way, but I realized where I fucked up at and I corrected it. So this is the longest time I've ever had clean in my life. So it's those little things that you change that can enable you to keep this thing going. I brought a speaker in for you guys tonight. Her name's Alexandria. That's how you say it, right?
Yeah, that's how you say
awesome. it. She's been probably around Florida doing this recovery thing for just about as long as I have. I know she has wonderful experience in the program. She works NA, so I brought her to give you guys an NA message. And with that, I'll introduce her.
Hi, I'm Alex and I'm an addict.
Alex.
I'm a little nervous. There's 24 of you in here. I wasn't expecting that. I counted. So yeah, I'm in Narcotics Anonymous, and it has saved my life more than once. I love drugs and alcohol. I really do. But I don't love the consequences that come from them. I have put myself in some really rough situations because I had a difficult time accepting who I was. From an early age, I always struggled with addiction before using anything, any substance. I was obsessed with television and movies, and I would do anything to stay home and watch them. I would lie to my parents. Loved attention to the point where it became unmanageable. Jealous to the point where I would, my mom would be dating this guy and I would spray paint her car out of anger and fear because I didn't know how to voice my opinion and my feelings. I realized at a young age that I felt funny when it came to women. I had these crushes and these obsessions and I didn't know how to voice it and how to deal with it. So I would hold it in. And when I held things in, it made me really insecure and really fearful of being myself. I struggled a lot with it. I wasn't told as a young kid that being gay was wrong or that it was, inappropriate. I just believed that it wasn't normal. So I really struggled with that a lot. And with my addiction, it was kind of my way of not feeling. So I started using at a really young age, at the age of 11 or 12. I'm not going to get into the substances because we all know how to use here. Mm-hmm. And I started using by myself. I found some stuff in my parents' closet and I went to school early and I just, got fucked up. And I loved it because for the first time I didn't have to feel my feelings. I didn't have to feel uncomfortable in my own skin. I was just able to be present, or so I thought I was present. I was bullied a lot in school for being overweight, for being different, for being a kid. It's hard out there being a kid. Kids can be mean, man. And I really just attempted to do the best that I could, which was using, I thought that if I used, I wouldn't feel. And I remember my parents' divorce at a young age really affected me. I started having temper tantrums, started feeling angry all the time, wanted to lash out, wanted to hurt people because I was hurt, and really didn't work out in my favor. So as I grew up, so did my addiction. It got progressively worse. I started trying new substances, hanging out with the wrong people because they were doing what I wanted to do, which was not feel. You know, they were the cool kids, and I wanted to be accepted. I wanted to feel like I mattered. And I didn't know how to do that independently. I had to follow the crowd, which is not who I am. I don't think that's who anybody truly is. I think we're all leaders. We just forget. So I put myself in some really bad situations. When I was in college, surprised I made it to college, but when I was in college, I started hanging out with some really scummy people who were advancing my drug career and paying for everything and showing me how to deal drugs and, you know, do things that I never thought I would do. I started becoming so desperate for drugs that I would steal from friends and then help them look for it. I would steal from my family. I hated myself because I knew what I was doing was wrong, but I had no control over what I was doing. I felt completely out of control. And I knew that I was really a good person on the inside, but I couldn't figure out who I was because my mind was controlled by substances and anger and sadness. I was hanging out with a drug dealer, and he called me one night and asked me if I would purchase a certain amount of something, and it wasn't a substance that I indulged in, which is weird because I did everything. So I kind of got manipulated into doing what he wanted me to do because I wanted him to like me. You know, people liking me was like fucking everything because I didn't like me. So I needed other people to like me to help me feel like, again, I mattered. Bottom line is that I didn't have the money to be able to purchase the substances in bulk. So I had another friend fund me, and we went to go get it together. And I knew that morning, I kept getting signs that something was going to go wrong. But I chose to not listen to those signs because I wanted to do things my way, which never got me to where I really wanted to be. Just got me kind of high for a short amount of time. So I went along with it, being the people pleaser that I used to be. And when we got to the location where we were exchanging the drugs, I said, Sean, I don't want to do it. I just don't want to do it. I felt it in my gut. And today I listened to my gut because honestly, it's all I have. And he's like, well, I don't know this guy. He's like super ghetto and I'm like super gay and like, I just don't feel comfortable. So I womaned up and I said, fine, I'll do it. And I got into the car with who I didn't know was an undercover cop at the time. And he introduced himself to me as Alex. And I was like, oh, my name's Alex. Like, we have something in common. That's groovy. And it wasn't. And, we did the exchange. And within 30 seconds, a big SUV pulled up behind us and blocked us in. And I'll never forget, it was like a fucking movie. Just something I had watched as a kid or as an adult. and a whole SWAT team was surrounding both cars, and a huge gun was pulled up to my head with a large shield placed against the door. And, they told me to get on my knees. My knees. And it was terrifying. It was probably one of the most terrifying experiences of my life because I never thought that would happen to me. I thought I was different. I'm not. So went to jail and got out eventually, and then I had two options. I could either set people up for the same crime and get 1 or 2 years reduced. I was facing 3 to 15 years in prison. Or I could go to trial and fight. So my mother, being the Hispanic woman that she is, just said to me, do whatever the fuck you have to do to get yourself out of this. Not knowing that if I set people up, I'd be ruining their lives for my mistake. So I did what any good addict would do. I tried to take the easy way out. I would get ready for parties. I would look at myself in the mirror, put on my makeup, kind of look forward to going to a party, knowing that I was about to ruin someone else's life, again, for my mistake. I never mustered up the courage to actually ask anybody. I know deep down that I am a good person. I've just made bad mistakes throughout the way. And after a couple of weeks, I talked to my attorney and I said, I'm not going to do it. Let's fight. So we did. I had to sit in his office for hours and hours upon days and days and try to remember a timeline of events that I couldn't remember because of all the Xanax I'd be taking. Sorry, but I did. That is something that really fucked up my memory, in addition to other substances. So it was really difficult to remember the dates and to remember the sequence of events that took place on these specific dates, so that if I said anything incorrectly, I'd be fucked. Not in a good way. And I got really frustrated a few times, and I would lash out and storm out of his office and be like, fuck this, just take me to prison. I don't care. But I was petrified. That's not how I was raised. I don't think it's how anybody's raised. But again, I can only speak for myself, but I just wanted to give up because that's all I knew, was to give up. So thank God for this man who I still have a relationship with today. He was calm and he was patient and he put in the work and effort to remind me to fight for myself, because no one else was going to fight for me except for me. So eventually I went into a grand jury trial where I had to pick out a jury who was going to decide my future. That shit's crazy. The prosecutor looked just like my father, and my father and I have always struggled with our relationship. I love him to death, but man, he's special. And I felt like that was God fucking with me. My dad didn't come to my trial. I was in trial for 6 days. I had people testifying against me and saying that I was highly manipulative and that I wasn't a good person and all this stuff. And it was really, really hard to hear. And then I had to get on the stand last, and I couldn't speak. I was mute. So thankfully, my attorney was able to ask for a recess. And within that recess, my mom was like, let's go out to lunch. And I was like, Mom, I need to be by myself. My life is at stake here. I need to figure out what's going on in my mind. And I wasn't able to totally be by myself. I called my roommate at the time and I told him what was going on. And he reminded me of how strong I am and how capable I am. And I had forgotten who I was. You know, I just felt like a piece of shit because of the things I was doing to myself and doing to others. I didn't feel like I was worthy of being saved. So I went back into that courtroom and I was myself, scared, but myself. Thankfully, all the charges were acquitted. It was non-guilty. After, it was a blessing. Like, I don't know how that happened. But I'm supposed to be here. I'm supposed to be talking to all of you. Like, I'm supposed to make an impact. There's no other reason. I hugged every single juror after the trial ended. And I felt such relief. I was grateful. But then I still got high, like right after. And I wasn't able to be by myself with my thoughts. I didn't know what that was. It was so foreign to me since I had used at such a young age. And I didn't like who I was, so that was even more difficult. I kept using for a while, and then life just got really unmanageable to the point where I was doing things for money that I never thought I would do, putting myself in really dangerous places that I never thought I would, risking my family's life by allowing drug dealers and crazy fucking people to show up at their house just because I wanted my next fix, endangering the lives of the people that I loved or thought I loved at the time. I was totally out of control, and I didn't care. I started to go through withdrawal, and I didn't have any more money, and my parents weren't stupid anymore. They figured it out. So they were no longer enabling me. So I decided that I wanted to end my life. I had struggled with suicidal ideations prior to this, probably due to drug enabling, drug-induced psychosis. But I do struggle with a little bit of mental illness in addition to that. I used to be very ashamed of saying that I struggle with mental illness. You know, I thought that you wouldn't like me. I thought that I couldn't be loved. But then I realized that, like, I'm no different than 80% of the population. So I attempted and got put into the psych ward. I was in the psych ward for 13 days. That's a long fucking time to be in the psych ward. Ran into a neighbor of mine that was in the psych ward who told me he thought he was like an actor and that this actor was inside of him. It was weird, but entertaining. And it just reminded me that I wasn't as bad as I had created this illusion of myself to be. I was just lost, and I wanted to be loved. And I wasn't able to be loved because I was so fearful of being rejected. I got faced with an ultimatum by my parents, which I'm super grateful for today. They came into the psych ward and said, either you can go to treatment or we're done with you. And I didn't want them to be done. So, I went to treatment. I was in treatment for about 60 days. I know what it's like, what you probably feel right now. It's not easy. But for me, it was necessary. For me, I needed to be away from the drugs and alcohol. I needed to be separated from my family and friends that I had hurt, from all the problems that I had caused. I needed that, but I wasn't aware of it at the moment. I just felt like I needed them, but I really needed me. I needed the support that you get when you're in treatment or detox or res, the support of other recovering addicts and alcoholics who were feeling the exact same things that I was feeling. I needed to feel like I was understood for the first time in my life because therapy wasn't working. And I've been in therapy since I was in second grade. What is that, 9 or 10? So it wasn't easy, but it was surprisingly fun, you know? I remember the first time that I experienced a belly laugh, not high, and wow, that was amazing, you know? To feel like what I said was funny. To feel like I was helping somebody else who was struggling. To know that boredom is okay. Because if I'm not bored, then I might be getting myself into trouble. I was in halfway for 22 months. And that was interesting. A lot of personalities. But again, it saved me. It kept me safe. It kept me out of harm. It kept me from going back to the things and people that I was accustomed to doing bad things with because I was lost and not self-sufficient. I didn't have a car for about the first 2 to 3 years of my recovery, and I was taking the bus, and it sucked. Like, we're in Florida. It's hot, you know? But it humbled me. It made me grateful to even have the amount of money to get a bus pass, to have the support of others, maybe pick me up and take me to a meeting. It made me realize, like, public transportation isn't that bad. It's kind of a luxury. We could be walking. And I slowly started to find myself. I got a sponsor who had what I wanted, which was unconditional love, which was self-worth, the ability to love others, to have acceptance, to walk through the fear of anything. And I remember being so overweight after treatment. I was so embarrassed and I couldn't fit into anything. And this woman, man, this fucking badass woman, took me to Target, bought me clothes, jeans. I remember like a tie-dye shirt I still have. And helped me not feel like I was unpresentable to the public. Because again, I was my own worst enemy. She helped me change the things I look at and look at the things that have changed differently, if that makes sense. I got into service, started putting myself in the middle. I would go to probably 5 to 7 meetings a week, not because it was mandatory, but because I wanted to be a part of. I wanted to help other people who helped me. Give back what was so freely given to me, which was the message of hope, which was that we can do anything we want to do as long as we put in the work and effort. Just like we put in the work and effort to get high, to steal, to lie, to cheat, same thing with recovery. But you have to put in the work in anything in life to be successful at it. So what I currently do is I help other people to the point where it makes me feel like I am making a difference, that I do matter, that I do have self-worth. I had to learn how to work on that, to feel it. I created a hug movement, which is fucking weird, man. Not everyone likes to hug, I've realized, unless you're a Narcotics Anonymous. But because I was struggling one day and I didn't want to get high, I was not doing what I needed to do. I was kind of falling off because life shows up, you know? I'm not perfect, and I have to, again, put in the work, and it's not always easy to put in the work. So I was lonely And I missed going to meetings, and I missed that physical embrace of hugging somebody and feeling accepted and like I mattered, and making sure that person felt accepted and loved and like they mattered. So I was broke at the time. I decided to write free hugs on a t-shirt, like a wife beater. And I went to a local CVS, and I had like $5. So with that $5, I had to get cat food for my cat, and I got flowers. And I was like, how the fuck am I going to hug random people? Like, this is weird, and I'm really nervous. But I want to do it. Like, it feels right, you know? So I got these, like, a bouquet of flowers, and I started trying to hand out flowers in front of, like, CVS. And I looked like a homeless person. I was wearing, like, basketball shorts. This shirt had, like, paint on it. My hair was up. I didn't have any makeup on. Like, I did not look my best. But I was motivated. Like, it felt like the right thing to do for me. So I got rejected a lot. I did. And then this one guy came up to me, and I think he was an attorney or something like that. Real suited up, good looking guy. And I tried to hand him a flower, and he goes, why are you giving me a flower? I said, because I'd like to give you a flower and maybe a hug if you'd like a hug. You know, I have free hugs on my shirt. You want to hug me? Yeah, I'd like to hug you. So we hugged, and he started kind of breaking down. And that was the moment that I realized that what I was doing, I was meant to do for the rest of my life. Whether it was in this movement, whether it was in Narcotics Anonymous, I was meant to help other people because other people helped me. And that's not something I take for granted. So I knew from that moment on that I was going to keep hugging. So this was a few years ago, and I've set a goal for myself to hug 10,000 people by 2028. I'm on 7,058 hugs. 59 now after hugging you. That's not easy, you know? I get rejected quite often. But I do hug the homeless every month with my old treatment center, and I hug about 100 people a month there. And there are so many people that are grateful, scared, but grateful to receive a hug because they don't remember what it feels like to be touched, to feel like they're important. Everyone is important. To me, kindness is necessary. You know, my father, even though he was difficult, always taught me to smile at others. And I'd be like, Dad, why would I smile at someone? Like, they're not necessarily going to smile back. Smile at them. Be kind. You never know how you're going to impact their day. It's true. Somebody could be suicidal. Somebody could be homicidal. And you smile at them. You're kind to them. You give them a compliment. It can change the game. We have that power. And I think we forget, or I forget, my apologies, because I can get so wrapped up in my own shit, my own chaos, that isn't even real. And with my chaos, it replays in my head over and over and over the same fucking thought. You know, whether it's, she doesn't like me, she doesn't want to go out with me, and it's just over and over and over again. Or he doesn't want to be my friend, or my dad's mean. It's all about gaining control over those thoughts and letting it go to your higher power, to my higher power. I've done things in my life that I never thought were possible. You know, I've gone on private jets. I've worked with celebrities. I've hugged celebrities. I am a filmmaker now. After watching all those movies and staying home, I've made something of my life. And I have done things beyond my wildest dreams. I am making a difference because I choose to. But it's work. It's hard work. And sometimes I allow that to interfere with my recovery. And I need to remind myself that recovery comes first. Because if my recovery didn't come first, none of the gifts of recovery would be available to me today. None. And to be perfectly honest with you, I didn't want to come speak tonight. I didn't. I had a conversation with somebody and it kind of messed me up a little bit, and I was like, fuck, can't get it out of my head. You know? The obsession, being an addict and obsessing over things that we can't control or that I can't control is hard. And it's a scary place to be. But if I didn't come here tonight and speak and share my experience, strength, and hope, I'd be still lingering in those thoughts rather than bringing a message of hope to you guys and possibly hope to myself and a reminder that it's up to me to decide my future. So I hope I touched one of you tonight. If I didn't, hopefully God spoke through me. And thank you for letting me share.
I'm going to open the meeting up for general sharing. Let's try to keep it in between like 2 minutes.
7,060.
Let's go. Who wants a hug? Are you're counting, right? I'm not counting for you.
I think I've seen that on there.
They haven't touched women in 3
Nothing wrong with that. Thank you.
Appreciate it, bro.
Proud of you. Thank you. You're welcome. Forrest, what's your ass? Hi.
Yeah, I've seen it.
My pleasure. Thank you.
I've seen that like
You seen it on the streets or like online?
My pleasure. Thank you.
I think so. Like posted it.
I'll put you.
Somebody sent a video of it, posted it on everywhere, and it was like the house building.
He said he seen you online. He said he saw you online.
Oh, yeah. That's awesome. All right, so I want to hear from you guys. Thank you for the hugs. That was awesome.
If y'all, anybody got something they want to share, we got a few minutes left, about 10 minutes. So we get a couple in. See the hand go up over here.
Oh, no, he literally, I was gonna be like, can I be 70-60? Like, that was gonna be like my question, so. But also, I'll go ahead and share. Josh, alcoholic.
Hey, Josh.
I really appreciate you like coming in. Obviously, thank you for taking the time out of your day, even though you didn't want to come. Because I'll be honest, I didn't want to come either. But I'm glad that I did, and I feel. And I was just saying to him, like, I'm just coming back into the rooms after like 4.5 years of sobriety. I'm an alcoholic. That's my thing. You know, and I'm coming to grips with the fact that like I didn't lose that 4.5 years. I just I learned something new. I had to go bump my head, as DJ would say. So I'm glad to be back. And you know, it's like I'm kind of coming to the realization too, because I started, like you were saying, like stepping away from the program, and I realized like I was in mental relapse years before I picked up that fucking drink. I mean, years, you know. And that's how like cunning and baffling this fucking disease is. But you know what, I manned up, or you know, as you said, womaned up. I manned up. I did want to come, and I did. You know what? I feel really fucking better. And I got a hug. So anyway, thank you for letting me share.
Josh, Adam.
Hey, Josh.
I can relate to your story a little bit. I appreciate that for you sharing your spirit, experience, strength, and hope. We gotta live in a common. The institutions and jail. And I tell you what, I'm here because I really don't want to fucking die. You know, I really want to get it right, and I appreciate you coming. Give me some hope. Thank you.
Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, my name's Brian, alcoholic and addict.
Brian.
I came late, but I think there was a reason why I came late. I caught the very end of it. But, what you said is true. I don't like to go there, but I'm gonna go there. Jesus told his disciples, he said, I leave you with these three things, faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of these is love. Well, in the real Bible it said charity, but love. Now, God said, if my people who are called by my name would humble themselves, turn from their wicked ways, humble themselves and pray, I will heal the land. To me, that's telling me the land is me. Because all the running around and craziness that I did, yeah, institutions and jail. I've been there. My last stint was 5 years out of 15 due 5. Running around in the wilderness. Running around in the wilderness. And this, I mean, there's a song that I like to listen to by Philander Jones. It's called, I can't remember the name of the song, but in the song, there's a verse that says, this is my exodus. That's what this is. This is my exodus. To come out of all that pain and suffering that I've been putting myself and other people. Thanks for that share.
Thanks for sharing.
Brother.